have something I really want to talk about.
Okay.
I just watched this movie. It's called
Uh,
Kimi no Nawa.
Oh yeah,
Oh my
I know
god,
that.
it changed my life.
We can. Have you seen that, Marilda?
is that
Your Name.
your name? Yeah, I cried so much when I watched that.
I watched
I've
it
seen
last
it.
night.
Oh my gosh.
I've seen it. So we could talk that because there's a lot that could be covered there, from like story and themes to animation and the genre as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also would be interested in talking about how anime or animation in general is evolving, because I read an interesting article about how now animation has become very international, where a lot of markets are beginning to open up, Netflix and etc., because they want to expand on especially adult animation, because series like Castlevania have gained such a wide audience, and they're thinking about maybe what if they do like a Game of Thrones animation, because you can do so much with animation that you couldn't do with live action.
Sounds good. Let's roll. Let's go. So I guess on that topic, Nova, Your Name, Kimi no Nawa.
Yes.
You saw it last night, so you've got the freshest perspective on that.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just give a brief little summary. So it's like Freaky Friday, but like with the red thread of fate and scary comets, and it's like Howl's Moving Castle had a baby with a high school anime. Yeah, that's how I would call it. But I love how, unlike with traditional like Western media animation and all of it, there is no like need to explain all the details. I feel like in Western animation and TV, we're also like, oh, this is why that happened. This is why this is happening. Here's this hero's journey, and we know exactly who everyone is. When I don't think that's really necessary to find an enjoyable story. In fact, I think it's kind of a hindrance.
So did you like the characters from the beginning, or what
Oh
were
yeah,
your thoughts?
I loved them. Taki, every time he woke up in the morning and groped his own boobs, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Same.
So basically, this story, Your Name, is a boy named Taki, and what was the girl's name?
Mitsuha.
Taki and Mitsuha mysteriously are switching bodies, and they don't know each other, but there's a mystery surrounding all of this and why it's happening, and that's the story as a whole. It focuses on these two characters, so they're kind of the crux of the story. 5-second summary.
Yeah. I don't want to give too much away because I think
Right,
everyone should
exactly.
watch it.
And it's funny because I normally, like, spoilers will make me watch something.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I'm like the spoiler shield for friends. But in this instance, I'm like, no, you don't need them.
Yeah.
It's the mystery.
Yeah, I love a good mystery. But I'm also all about spoilers. I hate going into something and being like, but what's gonna happen? I'm scared. I'm nervous.
You have to know.
I have to know. I have to know.
But in this case, it's more like, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but I mean, it adds to the atmosphere.
It's like Inception.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
So Marilda, what did you think of it when you first saw it?
Oh, I was really blown away when I first watched it. I was immediately pulled in by the beautiful scenery. Every shot was so beautifully done that that alone just made the movie for me. The water, the buildings, the environment, they did an amazing job just creating that atmosphere that pulled you in the first 5 minutes. And then I got pulled in by the humor that was in the very beginning of the movie. And then I laughed a lot. So this is kind of like a little spoilery, but it took me by surprise when in the middle of the movie, it started getting serious. And then by the end, I needed a box of tissues. So
Just like life.
yeah, it
Roller
really was
coaster.
like, it's like a fantasy in its way, but it's a slice of life
Mhm.
fantasy.
You know, I wish my life was like that. I wish I traded
Yeah.
places with a handsome boy in Tokyo.
Yeah, I would like that too. I'd be like, oh, I'm in Tokyo. I'm a boy, but I'm gonna go be a tourist. I'll be right back.
And they didn't shy away from the kind of awkwardness of being a teen, which I
Yeah.
really, really liked because uh, we tend to kind of shy away from things like that and ignore it, but that's not reality. And
Yeah,
it's funny that an animation can capture that really well. You know, it's kind of that movie Eighth Grade. This isn't anime at all. Bo Burnham directed it,
mhm.
but they just captured that awkwardness, and I loved
Yeah, they did. I felt like a kid again in high school when I watched it.
it.
I oh
I don't know about you, but I was really cool, so I don't relate.
oh no, oh gosh, I was so different in high school. I don't want to look back. But they say if you can look back in your past and cringe at it, you've grown as a person. So
There
Yeah,
you
I mean,
go.
I'm still with my husband, so it's like not much has changed for me. Same
Oh,
cats, same life.
oh my goodness. But yeah, I kind of felt the same way in terms of animation. It seemed like it was beyond what I've seen, like even in some Western animation. I ended up buying the movie on Blu-ray just because it was so gorgeous.
Hmm. Yeah, it
Um,
was only released in 2016, was it?
yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah. On a separate note, Weathering with You, I really want to see that.
oh, I haven't seen that either, but I heard it was just as good. So yeah, I
My
want to
brother
watch
saw it
it.
in theaters. I was so jealous because now we can't leave the house and know that nothing's playing anywhere.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like, what's going to come out? Well, when will they release things at least digitally?
Hmm.
Um, so on that note, kind of shifting gears, Marilla, you were talking about an article you read on animation, how it's changed and becoming more global.
Yeah, so before animation was all just about, oh, it's anime, it's from Japan, and you can watch it sub, dub, etc. But now it has become more popular because other countries like Korea and China, and especially the US, are beginning to explore more into the world of animation, and it's become more international. Um, Recently, a new anime came out called God's Tower, and that used to be a Korean comic series, and it has blown up. And I know a lot of people are talking about it now. And series like Castlevania has opened a new avenue into adult animation. So you can do so much. People are talking about how you can do so much with animation that you can't do with live action, and especially fantasy, in fantasy settings it's really hard, and the budgets are huge when you try and do a fantasy setting in the live set in live action.
Yeah, like imagine if you tried to make it's like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Like how
yeah.
long that took and
How
how
much
insane it
money?
was.
Yeah,
But with animation, you can do it. It's crazy. Love it.
So would you
yeah.
guys say that in the last like decade or so, anime and animation as a whole has been taken more seriously by the world?
Definitely. I feel like before, especially Western animation, it used to all used to like only be thought of as for children, and so there was a huge comedy factor in animation. um but now people are seeing it more as you can make a serious story out of it. It doesn't have to be comedy, it doesn't have to be humorous, it can be serious and emotional, real life. um
Well, it's like Grave of the Fireflies was one of the first uh anime movies to be so sad. It's probably still one of the saddest movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
And
it
that's
was
that's
like,
a movie that deals with post-war Japan,
yeah,
Yeah,
with children
after
in
Hiroshima.
post-war Japan, and it doesn't pull any punches.
Yeah,
Post World War II, we should say.
yeah.
Um, yeah, from my experience, definitely animation has been taken more seriously, especially in like the last like decade or so. When I was growing up, it was like late 80s, early 90s, and the cartoons that I'd watched were kind of stupid, didn't really have much to it. I got Disney Plus recently and was rewatching some of them, and I was like, oh, this was not what I remembered it to be.
I still feel the exact same way about Adventure Time, so I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, well, that's the thing. Like, in the 90s, there was a show called Gargoyles, And I
Oh
feel like
yes.
I feel like Gargoyles was kind of one of the first few that like actually took its audience seriously. I mean, there were a few
Mhm.
others like Animaniacs and Tiny Toons, also, kind of focused on humor and didn't treat its audience like kids. But Gargoyles really had like a serialized plot and characters, and I feel like we see a lot of that in certain anime series.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z and Naruto, so I for me I connect anime to long-term storytelling. Even with the slice of life and or like filler, it still continues on. And then what again, Western animation doesn't have that same serious quality.
Yeah. And the other thing, interesting thing about the article I read was that because people are beginning to watch cable TV less and less, more people are watching like things on online, Netflix, Hulu, etc. And those are the companies that want to expand into adult animation because it pulls a bigger audience in, and not only in their own country, internationally as well. So that's a huge market that I feel it's going to grow in the next decade.
Yeah, business wise, Netflix has been partnering with a lot of like Japanese companies to produce their shows, which ends up, some shows will like premiere on Netflix in Japan, and then they'll take a bit to come over here. Like Beastars from was like
Oh,
last
can we
October.
talk about Beastars for a second?
We can talk
Like,
about Beastars.
okay, I'm sorry, but what the fuck?
Beastars is like Utopia on acid.
Is it that one series about wrestling? If
No,
I'm right?
No,
Oh,
no,
it's
okay.
furries.
it's furries. It's basically
Oh,
you
okay. I know what
have
you're talking about.
carnivores and herbivores.
And
Um,
they're like having sex and it's like really promoted on Netflix. I'm like, I don't know
Oh,
how did we get here?
I watched all 13 episodes, so I can answer any questions because I was curious, and it's an interesting show because I feel like because it had the Netflix money, and I forget exactly what um how it aired in Japan. Like I forget if it was just weekly on Netflix or if it actually aired on the station or what. But they took some risks with the animation, like they did. It's like a lot of 3D animation and stuff. It looks kind of weird and janky in parts, but it's interesting to see them take risks and make stylistic choices that I feel like they wouldn't have gotten to make if they didn't have that Netflix money.
You know, I wish I had that Netflix money.
Yeah, it's in the Netflix cash. You can get a rabbit sex.